All right. Welcome to the April 2024 Idea Share. My name is Beth from Key Ministry. My colleague, Catherine Boyle, who's our Director of Mental Health Ministry, is here. And so happy April, everybody. It's April 1st. Yesterday was Easter, Resurrection Day. So big day for our churches. Would anybody like to kick us off with anything to share, either, what happened at your church this weekend or what you're working on? Who'd like to kick us off? I'm looking at you, Julie. Go ahead.
Well, I don't want to jump ahead of anybody if they're eager, but I just wanted to share that I'm very excited that I've been commissioned in my new job to finding places for our adults with disabilities to serve in our church, which is, of course, a huge part of my heart, right? So the first thing that we're going to do is talk with the host team and find out which of those adults in our wonderful ministry wants to be a greeter and how to incorporate them in. So appreciate your prayers for all of that. Also want to kind of get some ideas from you guys about other things that we can encourage our adults with disabilities to do throughout the church, some experiences that you've had, or even just ideas, that you have if you've not even tried them, because I'm willing to try anything to see if we can get that happening, because we know that they want to serve so desperately. They keep hearing those commissions from the front. Okay, we need to serve. We need to be a people of service, right? And then there's no place for them to serve. So we've got to change that. And I'm very eager to do that. So now I'm going to be quiet so y'all can talk.
No, I love it. First of all, thank you for kicking us off. I always love hearing from the Meekins. Now, this is fantastic because I think this is something that, we've kind of talked about a lot. It's something that we all know is super important. I mean, we all need to be serving. And not only is that part of what, we as Christians need to do, but also it's super important for our churches that everybody is serving and using their gifts. So I'm excited to keep hearing from Julie as the months progress. So would anybody like to share anything about what's maybe happening at your church, or ideas that you have? You're probably talking specifically like adults with disabilities. Is that kind of your...
Yeah, specifically right now, it's the adults with disabilities who can get to their classroom and, out of their classroom without support. So that's what we're talking about now. I would like to see that grow, of course, into those who, maybe not be able to do some of what they can do, but they can do something. But for now, that's what we're working with.
Okay. All right. So in the chat, so it says we have adults serving coffee, greeting, doing tech and kids ministry. It says my daughter is 16, but dances with the 5th and 6th graders on the kids worship team. Some adults help push around our friends in wheelchairs. We also have some adults who serve Wednesday nights at our Celebrate Recovery serving dinner for them. At our Celebrate Recovery, serving dinner for them and cleaning up. So those are a lot of great opportunities right there. Andrea, you have some to share.
Yeah, so obviously we do greeters as well. But then some of our things that our folks come in and have done throughout the week, we have a lot of things online, but we also still have the paper pew cards that people can fill out, like a Connect card. So we've had people come in and keep those filled, keep pins in the backs of the pews, those kinds of things. We have a Wednesday night fellowship dinner before we have services. And so we had a lady that used to come and she would fill the salt and pepper shakers every week before the meal. She would help clean up afterwards. We had a young man, we have a church library, and when they were converting over to digital, he came in and fixed the whole system for us. He converted everything over, from the old cards to a digital system. And then we have, I think I mentioned this a couple months ago, a young man right now that he serves on Wednesday nights. He's one of the assistants in one of our 3-year-old classrooms. So for those that, are able to do that, maybe they can't be the lead, but they could help in a classroom with your kid or preschool ministry.
All right, this is awesome. So I'm hearing a lot of things, everything from kind of food service prep, serving, cleaning, to greeting, to tech, to teaching. Okay, I saw John's hand go up and then Barb's hand. John.
Hello. Yeah, so at my son's church, which actually his disability ministry is really just for adults. Chris is actually the youngest at 16. But one of the things they do is that, obviously now everybody's doing the communion cups, like the self-contained with the wafer and the juice. So at different times during the year, they will actually hand those out, which I think is a great way to get that ministry up front because they'll hand it out as people are coming into the auditorium. It's a very easy, simple thing, and everybody can kind of engage. Another thing that I know they will sometimes do is they will go into some of the other Sunday school rooms and help with maybe cleaning, organizing, just, doing different tasks there. But then a few years ago when I was doing job coaching, I actually got a young man, an actual part-time job at my old church. And some of the stuff that he was doing was, rearranging tables and chairs, for example, if he's comfortable with that, cleaning up the coffee bar, restocking and, wiping stuff down, reorganizing the Bibles in the auditorium behind the seats and that type of thing. So, and any number of tasks, but to me, like I know how much I especially like to see as a parent, the passing out of the communion cups, because again, it's a way, for them to be out in front of the community and really engaging and getting kind of that, one-on-one exposure. So.
All right, thank you. So what I'm hearing is there are some jobs that are kind of behind the scenes and some jobs that are actually like up front participating with the congregation. Also, John has a unique perspective of being both a job coach and a parent. So that's pretty cool too. Barb.
Okay, so this really is probably for people maybe that have high functioning autism or Asperger's, because I feel like problem with serving in the church in general is that almost all of the jobs are for people. And it's really hard if that is stressful for you, and people who have really great gifts are not being utilized. So I always say research. So if you're on a church staff and you're a pastor and you're doing a sermon, sometimes you need someone to research, like what is the etymology of a word or this. And one thing we used to also do was proofreading. So we had some people that we would contact, like when I was on the church staff, and I would write up something, and I'm not the best at grammar. Instead of using Grammarly, we had people that was how they gifted their skills. So look for what people are good at and then find a way to add that in.
Love it. Love it.
And then last thing on that, I would say too, with that, because these people don't get recognized, they're not up and people aren't, it's really important that someone on that church staff or volunteers is sending out thank you notes every once in a while in the mail to those people saying, we appreciate your behind the scenes work.
I love that. So if you take nothing away from today's discussion, I think that's a little nugget right there that all of our churches can act on. So I love that research idea. That's pretty cool. I had not thought about that one. Yeah. So like figure out what people's gifting is, and you're totally right. Like not everybody wants to be a greeter.
I don't.
Yeah. Same.
I don't want to be one.
And so, yeah, figure out what people's gifting is, and then, let them use those gifts. But I love the idea of recognizing people with a handwritten thank you note. Can be so meaningful. I love it. All right, this is a great discussion. Who else would like to share? Al.
Yeah, we had a hopping Easter. It was really jammed yesterday. And we have a cafe in our church. It runs Sunday to Thursdays. There's about 20 people with disabilities that work there. And I met the brother of one of them yesterday. He came because his sister works there. And he came because of that. So it's good. The connections we're getting in the church because of the cafe and those with disabilities working there. I also want to acknowledge two friends here. Well, Catherine was here last time. She's from France. Karina is also from France, and she's on this call as well. So we might eventually start one of these in France, getting ideas from how this works here.
Oh, that's excellent. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, just to say that since I came to your meeting last month, Karina and Al and I are in a kind of thing called it's not a proper association, but it's kind of a think tank around ASD, well, other neurodevelopmental difficulties in the church. So we're going to copy, if that's okay, we're going to copy your idea from September onwards. We've kind of picked out all the, or we're picking it. Well, we're not picking. God is really showing us. People have just coming out of the woodwork. It's amazing. So God is showing us different key people who have a particular interest, either practically or theologically, or well, all sorts of things. And we're going to do a monthly idea share. So that's really great. So thank you for impressing me so much last month and wanting us to do it. So yesterday I helped to run the Easter service in our church, which is just a small, well, most churches in France are small. And it was great there. We had 2 autistic guys on the stage. So one of them was doing all the readings because that was much easier for him to cope with. It wasn't ad-libbing, it was all set out for him. And so he knew what he was doing. And then the other autistic guy who's perhaps a more severe, he doubles up on rhythm with another guy, so he copies everything that the other guy does, but he's got a very good sense of rhythm, and so but that's a great way for him to serve. But we keep the microphone away. I can say it because it's my son, because he sings very loud, but there you go.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. And I'm seriously, like, I'm crying. Like, I love that this is now launching into an idea share, like an international one, that you're taking this idea. Like, that makes me so happy. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you for the work that you're doing. That's pretty darn cool. Wow. Okay. All right. Who else would like to share? Yes, Julie.
I just wanted to share how wonderful is it that Al started talking to us about his ministry in France and getting back to France. And now we have these wonderful, beautiful ladies coming on board, and we get to see the fruit of Al's prayers and labors and our prayers as he went forth in that obedience to the Lord. So now I'm crying because just thinking about how God is working. Thank you, Al, for sharing all that with us.
Absolutely. Amen to that. Linda and then Barb.
Okay, so my sister, my 2 nieces leave for Germany on April 8th, which is also that eclipse. We're also buying a United product, so I'm like, oh, great. Could be a lot of stuff crazy, but we are mainly going to be with the village autistic children. We're trying to foster. Problem in Germany with respite care is they don't have babysitters. They don't use babysitters. They also don't have a serving culture like we do. That has to partly do with Martin Luther and partly other reasons. So we are hopefully fostering a community with the 4 families to trade off watching the kids so parents can get away. Zoriana will be there, Anya, who used to be an employee of hers, and pray that I can reconnect with this gentleman in the Heidelberg region who kind of is outside the box. He's got 5 kids. He fostered kids. He was part of Awana. I'm trying to see if we can spur a move, get them to think outside the box, not like the culture in Germany. Zoriana has had her visa approved to come to Disability of the Church. I'm working on. I feel like I've been fundraising forever. I just fundraised $7,600 in 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, like less than 3 weeks. Our trip is fully funded to Germany for what we were funding for. God bless. But I'm providing all the in-country stuff in Florida. I cannot also provide for her airfare. It's about $1,200. Pray that comes through. I do have an extra job this week that I could use some of that towards there. And also I'll be going to Poland while the Olympics are going on. and I love the airfare prices already. It's just like,
Uh,
yeah, we're not having a Germany trip because of that. It's like, it's not gonna work. So, pray that Zoriana, her daughter's coming to do translation for her. And that we can do a disability at the church in Central Europe and Eastern Europe, because the issues in Eastern Europe is different than Central Europe. Eastern Europe is, we have no disabilities. There's no disabilities in Ukraine. There's no disabilities in Romania. Poland is Central Europe. A lot of people get confused by that. And the difference there is the serving culture. Germany and Poland have amazing therapy. I found out if you have a private school in Poland, you must have special needs support services. Can't get away with that. My friend knows a Christian school that has special needs at the same level as the public school. I was like, wow, why can't we do that in America? And like in Germany, wonderful services, no community. And the church needs to look different than the culture. The problem is Germans are in a box now because of the wars, because of their secret, police. Martin Luther somewhat, grace through not works, not understanding Jesus served us, we need to serve. But pray that we have a really impactful time, that I can reconnect with this gentleman that's like very biblical, but outside the box. I was like, well, you have 5 kids, man. In foster care. So it's just so, because I had to write him a letter. I just had his address. So, but their mail system is very good in Germany.
Well, that is a lot of information, and I can see Catherine jotting down, so I bet she's already added this to the Key Ministry Prayer team list of things that get prayed over each week. So yeah, so that's a lot, a lot going on. So Linda's team is going to be at Disability in the Church. So I think, just in case we don't all know, Disability in the Church is a National Disability Ministry Conference that's happening May 1st through 3rd in Orlando. So many of the people that you see on here are actually speaking or attending. And yes, Catherine just threw the link up in the chat. But this is a time when we can connect and just like actually get to do this in person, which is really fun. Sharing in the chat, Lindsay shared that All Belong does a great job equipping Christian schools to include all kids. And we'll share that link in the when we post this on our Vimeo and YouTube channels as well. It's allbelong.org. All right, thank you, Linda. And I think now I lost Barb. Oh, there she is. Hello, Barb, are you ready?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of add on to what Julie said. So the 2 things we are working on right now is we're having our very first ever fundraising gala in 2 weeks. Yeah, it's fun. So, and then we've also officially started with building the website for the adapted discipleship resource library. And with all of these big things, we've really kind of taken a look back down memory lane of all of the people who have helped us and helped this mission. And it has just hit me hard this week how grateful I am for each one of you. Like, because I really, really like what you said, Beth. We're watching Al and now what you have started here with this ministry roundtable. Not only are we doing it in the other disability ministry network now, but now it's going to be in France, and it's going to keep going and going and going. And I just want each one of you to know, sometimes when we are working hard and it feels like we're getting nowhere, we're not, because we're all in this together, and I'm just very, very grateful. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, and Barb, we are grateful for you because you personally have been a huge source of encouragement to people on this Zoom, just of like resources and information. So yes, I echo everything Barb just said. And for those of you who maybe are joining us for the first time or have been joining us recently, this group started in March of 2020 because we were like, holy cow, what do we do now? when we have to completely change everything. And so we used to meet on a weekly basis and now monthly basis. So yes, hashtag pandemic blessing. Let's see, who else? I have something if nobody else has their hand raised. Let me just look around. Okay, Andrea has her hand raised.
So one thing that have started working on is I kind of reached out to probably about 20 or 25 churches in our area to find out who's doing special needs ministry already, who has an interest in doing it if they're not. And it was as I thought. There were a couple of other churches doing a few things, but we're the primary church doing it. And so I'm going to be hosting a once a month meeting with anybody that was interested to kind of collaborate, pray, help churches who aren't nowhere to start, because our church can't do it all, And so just if anybody has any suggestions, I mean, obviously this is kind of what we do on here too, but for that in-person meeting, if you've done this and you have anything you want to share with me, I'd be glad to hear it.
Yeah, so I have a couple of resources that I want to, I think this is what we need to be doing as churches. So a couple places that are doing this really well. There's Ashland Special Needs Ministry in Ashland, Ohio. There's Masterpiece Alliance in, okay, is it Richmond? No, it's Roanoke, Virginia. Also, Johnny and Friends is doing regional meetups, and John, correct me if I'm using the wrong terminology, but so like in Northeast Ohio, there's a group that is trying to meet on a monthly basis. And so that's being spearheaded by Johnny and Friends staff. But John, do you want to correct me on that one?
No, you're right on that. And the one thing that I'll also just add here too is that so the Johnny and Friends model is that we do networking meetings per like a geographic area. So just like what you said in Ohio. If you are in like the general Midwest area though, so for example, our Chicago office covers 5 states, I actually do a virtual one as well. Kind of the same format as this monthly. We actually meet the first Thursday. So some of us actually still do virtual stuff. It just kind of depends on the office and the location. But for the most part, that's specific to like a closer geographic area with a smaller group of churches. But we also do a virtual one. So if you're in like the Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin area, if you're interested, reach out to me, and yeah, happy to connect you with that too.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And John, if there's any like Johnny and Friends link or anything you want to share drop it in the chat. If there's something that we can then,
sure,
share with others. Anybody else have other like regional models that you know of that would be worth sharing with Andrea? No. So the next one will be in Andrea's area. Okay, Allison.
Sorry, just going to say that, so I'm in, where am I?
You're in Pennsylvania.
That's the one. Southeastern Pennsylvania. Forget how big the state is. But again, we used to go to Lancaster and meet up with the Johnny and Friends crowd there. And then since COVID, we've met virtually, and we're back to meeting monthly virtually. I know Al comes on because it actually covers, now covers PA, Maryland, New Jersey, and some from New York as well. So I can highly recommend that. That's Evan Smith and Sib Charles that do that. And again, it's nice to get a little bit of locality input, and some of us have visited each other's churches, etc. So it's nice to have that. But I love what Andrea is doing. I kept meaning to put out a wider call, but I've had a few people reach out, and I'm actually meeting with 2 that are trying to start a ministry this week. So I usually tell them to come to this. I usually point them to Key Ministry, SOAR, Johnny and Friends, and sort of keep spreading them that way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Thanks for the work that you're doing. All right, I'm going to ask a question. So does anybody, specifically those of you who work in churches or maybe who are parents, does anybody have any tools they use or strategies that they use to help the connection? So I'm talking more like children's ministry, but with kids with disabilities. So like, like quote special needs ministry, but for younger individuals. but that's kind of fostering that communication or that collaboration between church and home for the purpose of like faith development in the child. Does anybody have any things that you do? Like some kind of tool that you give to parents to help them? Yes, Barb.
We're not doing this yet, but that is the purpose of the Adaptive Discipleship Resource Library. We are making like 5-minute adapted children's Bible videos with lessons that parents can download at home and churches can download at church. And so that is the point, that you can have something at home for the families to help with that faith development at home. It's not out yet, but we're working on it.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And just because maybe not everybody knows who you are, can you share your ministry?
Yeah.
Please?
So I'm Barb Stanley and I lead Wonderful Works Ministry, and we make online resources for churches and soon to be families too, to help churches serve students with disabilities. So training videos, we are now with this, we got a big grant partnership. And so we're going to be making downloadable classroom tools for churches, social stories, these adapted Bible videos. So that's what we do. We make resources.
And they make very good resources. So
Thank you.
Please do check it out. And if somebody could drop the link in the chat, that would be awesome. Thank you. Anybody else?
This is Lindsay speaking from the Christian Reformed Church. We are, our resources are more general, so they're not specifically, I mean, I work for specific disability and accessibility ministry, but our children's ministry resources, we have curriculums and so forth that are general, but we've been meeting regularly to figure out how do we equip Sunday school teachers and so forth, children's ministry folks to serve all kids better, and how do we, so, you know, we're looking at getting out there, like what already exists. And so pointing people to the good stuff that's already available, but then also, you know, what do we need to do, even looking at ableism in our curriculum and the way we tell stories about healing and things like that. So we're doing some of that. I realize that's more about church space than faith development at home, but similarly, I suspect it's the same grant situation as you, Barb. We got a pretty large grant, and so part of the first round of this is to do listening sessions about faith development in the home. And so we've been intentional about, we're intentional about including me on the team, making sure we're thinking about this. And so we are making some intentional choices about where we do those listening sessions, so that some of those are at Christian Reformed churches that have focus on disability, or have, you know, just a big heart for it and have a lot going on in that area, so that we can make sure we're including that voice. So I'm excited to be part of that and to hear different ways that this is happening and that it can happen. So
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. And I mean, we look forward to continuing to hear from you as you go through that process and have the listening sessions. What a great resource. Yeah. Thank you. John has shared in the chat the link to the Chicago Virtual Network meeting. So if that's of interest to you, please do check that out. Who else has something to share? Or question to ask? Since, let's see, who brought up, let me think, who brought up the eclipse? How many of you are in the path of totality for the
right in the middle
eclipse? We are. Yeah.
Fun.
Like we're all, like everything's closed next
yeah.
Monday. Yeah. Okay. I just thought I'd throw that in so that people who are listening to this recording, you know, years from now will be like, ooh, cool. All right. Anybody else? All right. Any questions about the conference, Disability in the Church? Any questions there? Because Catherine and I would be happy to answer them.
How many are signed up?
between 350 and 400 right now. And then, you know, with a month to go, like that's when a lot of people register, is the last month. So we're excited. Very excited. Yeah, so it's already bigger than, you know, other years. And we have, there's a Thursday night session with Dr. Eric Carter that will be it's like an optional community conversation type thing. And we can accommodate 240 people at that. And we're at like 230 something. So if you were planning to attend that, I suggest you register today. So it's good stuff. All right, well, let me give you a couple of announcements. Obviously, the conference is one of them. The rates will go up after April 17th. Also, the Disability Ministry Video Roundtable this month is going to be a little different than what we've done in the past. So we normally, you know, we choose a topic, we have a discussion just like this, and we record it. And there are people that watch you know, that weren't able to attend that watch later. This time we're actually not going to record it. What we're talking about, like for those of you who work in a church ministry setting, when there are like more unwelcome behaviors, because we at Key Ministry, we get a lot of questions about that, like what do I do when? And so we're going to have a little discussion about that. But because it's really hard for people to ask questions about a particular situation at their church without using identifying information, we're not going to record that one. So if that topic is of interest to you, that is the third Wednesday of this month, which would be the help. 19th? No, I don't. Let's see. I can't even do the math. 17th.
The 17th.
17th. Thank you. So that's April 17th at noon Eastern time. So that one you're going to want to catch live. I know many of you already like get the email invitation each month. If you don't, just go to keyministry.org/events and sign up for that. Catherine, any other announcements that you can think of? Catherine hosted, so in March, the roundtable was a mental health ministry roundtable. And that recording is posted on the Key Ministry YouTube channel and Vimeo channel. So you can check that out. I think that's it. So it was wonderful to see everybody today. Great turnout. And we look forward to seeing you again, either at the conference or next month. All right. Thanks, everybody.